Welcome back to the deep dive. There's that great Douglas Adams quote, "You live and learn. At any rate, you live." And that whole idea, especially with something like learning a new language, it's uh, it's a real journey. But let's face it, right now, trying to pick a language learning app, it can feel like, well, like a huge task in itself.
It really can.
It's like this massive digital haystack, and you're trying to find that one needle that's actually going to work for you.
Mhm.
It's honestly overwhelming sometimes. So, yeah, how do you even start wading through all that to find a tool that genuinely helps?
Well, that's exactly what we're aiming to do today, to kind of cut through the noise and help you, the listener, figure out which app might be the best fit for your specific situation. I mean, our phones are they're part of everything now, aren't they?
Totally. Can't live without them.
Exactly. And that's filtering into education, too. This area, mobile assisted language learning, it's booming. Developers are constantly trying new things, experimenting with how to use this tech we carry around all day for, actually learning languages.
Okay, so we're going to unpack this. We'll look at the key things you should consider, maybe talk about why some features work better than others, and definitely highlight some specific apps that are doing interesting things. The goal here is for you to walk away feeling more confident about making a choice that really helps you learn. All right, so where do we start? How do we begin to filter through all these choices? I guess the first big thing, maybe the most important, is understanding yourself, right? How you learn best.
Absolutely fundamental. There's no single best app. It really has to match how your brain likes to process information. One size definitely doesn't fit all here.
So like different learning styles.
Exactly. Take visual learners, for instance.
Yeah.
They really need to see things. We're talking pictures, diagrams, charts, mind maps, associating words directly with images. They need that constant visual input. From a learning science angle, it connects to something called dual coding theory.
Dual coding.
Yeah, basically, when you pair a visual cue with the word or phrase, you create stronger connections in your brain. It helps memory retention, quite significantly, actually.
Okay, that makes sense. And some apps are really built for that, aren't they? I'm thinking of Nudge.me. It's got that clean, minimalist look, but uses flashcards with really nice images. And the games have these little animations.
Good visual feedback.
Yeah. And then there's Vocab Victor. That one's got this whole vibrant fantasy world going on. The games are procedurally generated.
That's right. It means the content isn't static. It changes, keeping it visually fresh and engaging.
Which is great for keeping you hooked.
Yeah.
And we can't forget Rosetta Stone, kind of the classic immersive approach. They often use video showing cultural context, which must be gold for visual learners, seeing how the language is actually used.
Definitely. And visual learners can do things outside the apps, too. Simple stuff like sticking Post-it notes around the house.
Oh yeah, they do that.
It works. Or even drawing things. I had a friend learning Japanese trying to remember the word for snowman. He drew a snowman holding a katana.
A samurai sword. Seriously.
Yeah. The image was so weird, so memorable, it just stuck. Watching movies with subtitles, using highlighters when reading online. Lots of strategies.
Okay, so that's visual. But what if seeing isn't your main thing? What about auditory learners? People who learn best by, well, listening.
Right. For them, it's all about the spoken word. They absorb information best through listening, through hearing clear pronunciation, dialogues, explanations.
So for those listeners, apps like BBC Learning English would be ideal. Their stuff is mostly audio and video programs, like little radio shows or news bits. Very well produced.
Excellent choice, yes. And ABA English is another interesting one because it's entirely video-based. The lessons are built around these short films showing everyday situations, so you get tons of listening practice in context.
Okay. And then there are people who are more comfortable with text, right? Reading and writing learners.
Exactly. They often like seeing things written down, maybe having explicit grammar rules explained, doing written exercises.
Writing seems a bit less common in apps, maybe.
Yeah.
But ABA English, you mentioned videos, they actually have dictation exercises too, where you type what you hear.
They do, yes. It's a good way to connect the sounds to the written form. And of course, for refining writing, a tool like Grammarly is invaluable. It's not a language learning app per se, but it gives that real-time feedback on grammar, punctuation, style.
Helping you notice patterns and correct mistakes,
Yeah.
whether you're learning implicitly, just by exposure, or deductively, with the rules up front.
Precisely. And then we have our kinesthetic learners, the doers. They learn best through physical activity, interaction, hands-on stuff.
Ah, yes. This makes me think of Space Team. ESL. Have you seen this one? It's brilliant.
I've heard great things. Very active, right?
Totally active. It's this chaotic multiplayer game where you're all frantically tapping and shaking your phones, shouting instructions in English at each other like, activate the flux capacitor,
Yeah.
or whatever.
No, sounds fun.
It makes learning feel really physical and collaborative. A friend, definitely a kinesthetic learner, said it made grammar feel like a sport.
That's a great way to put it.
So it really seems like step one is just pausing and thinking, okay, how do I actually learn best? Reflecting on that, and maybe being willing to try out a couple of apps that seem to fit that style.
Exactly. Self-awareness is key.
Okay, so once you get a sense of your learning style, what's next? Goals, I imagine, like why are you learning this language?
Critical. Absolutely critical. You need to define what you want to achieve and realistically in what time frame. Are you just aiming for basic conversation for a holiday?
Or are you going for full fluency? Or maybe you need specific vocabulary for work.
Precisely. Because different apps are geared towards different outcomes. If it's conversation you're after, ABA English is strong with its real-life scenarios and live classes. Busuu and italki connect you directly with native speakers for practice.
Real interaction, yeah.
And HelloTalk is basically social media for language exchange. Text, audio, video chats with native speakers. Great for building fluency through actual use.
And if grammar accuracy is the main focus, like really nailing the rules.
Then you might look at something like Learn English Grammar from the British Council. It's packed with exercises covering all the levels, from A1 right up to C2 on the CEFR scale.
That's the European framework thing?
Yeah, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, standard levels. Their app focuses on implicit learning, absorbing the rules through practice. Or English Grammar Book, that one's more traditional, explains the rule, then quizzes you. Deductive. And ABA English weaves grammar into its video drills, too.
Okay. What about just building vocabulary? Learning lots of words.
For pure vocab, nudge.me is excellent. It uses spaced repetition flashcards.
Okay.
That's the technique where it shows you the word again just before you're likely to forget it. Very efficient. You can set daily word goals, too.
Keeps you consistent.
Right. And Vocab Victor, with its game approach, is great for associating words with meanings. Though, one small point, it sometimes lacks full sentence context, which can be important for deeper understanding.
Good point. And pronunciation. Getting the accent right.
Apps like Learn English, Speak English, or ABA English often use that listen, record, compare method. You hear a native speaker, record yourself, and compare. Focuses on imitation.
But you mentioned earlier, sometimes the speech recognition isn't perfect.
That's a common issue, yeah. The tech is getting better, but it can still be a bit hit or miss.
Is there anything listeners can do about that? Or ways to tell if an app's recognition is any good?
Good question. Often, during a free trial, you can test it. See if it gives specific feedback, like which sound you got wrong, not just yes or no. And simple things help speak clearly, close to the mic. Sometimes it's the app's sensitivity, not just you.
Okay. And proficiency level matters too, right? Beginner versus advanced.
Hugely. For total beginners, Duolingo and Babbel are super popular for a reason. They're generally very user-friendly, structured, guide you through the basics gently. It feels approachable.
Makes it less intimidating.
Exactly. But if you're intermediate, Duolingo still has more advanced stuff. BBC Learning English offers loads of varied content, and Grammarly, as we said, becomes really useful for polishing writing.
And for the really advanced learners, pushing towards fluency.
Then you might look at FluentU. It uses real-world videos, movie trailers, news clips, music videos for studying nuances. Or platforms like Coursera or edX often have specialized language courses, maybe for academic or professional purposes, from universities.
Right. And the timeline piece, short trip versus long-term fluency.
Yeah, if you're cramming for a trip next month, you need something intensive, focused on practical phrases. For the long haul, you need a more comprehensive curriculum. Babbel actually lets you set your daily time goal, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever fits your life.
That's handy. Okay, so we've covered learning style goals, timeline. What about the app itself, the features, how it feels to use?
Yeah, the user experience is crucial. It's not just what it teaches, but how, and how easy or even fun it is to interact with.
Which brings us to gamification.
Exactly. Using game mechanics, points, badges, leaderboards, progress bars in a non-game context like learning. Good gamification like Vocab Victor's Quest or Duolingo Streaks taps into our intrinsic motivation.
Our inner drive to achieve things.
Right, that desire for mastery, for progress. It makes learning feel less like a chore and more like a challenge, which helps with consistency.
And some apps really lean into this. You mentioned Vocab Victor feeling like a quest. Nudge.me shows you accuracy percentages in real time, counts your unlocked cards. They even have a countdown for new cards.
Very motivating little nudges.
Totally. ABA English has that weekly points goal that resets, pushing you to engage regularly. Plus, they give downloadable certificates.
Yeah.
And yeah, Duolingo's streak is legendary for keeping people coming back.
But a word of warning, not all gamification is effective. Some apps just slap on points or badges without much thought, like English Grammar Learn and Test. It has medals, but they don't seem clearly tied to specific achievements.
So it doesn't really mean anything.
Exactly. It doesn't provide that satisfying feedback loop. It's not just having game elements. It's about how well they're implemented to genuinely motivate.
Makes sense. And separate from games, just the basic design and navigation. That matters a lot too, doesn't it? If an app is clunky or ugly, you're less likely to use it.
Absolutely. An intuitive, clean, maybe even aesthetically pleasing interface just makes the whole process smoother. Less frustration, more focus on learning.
Which apps stand out for good design?
Well, Nudge.me, again, very minimalist and stylish. Space Team. ESL, while chaotic, has a really cool, immersive, retro tech vibe. BBC Learning English is clean, and their My Learning section is super helpful for tracking. ABA English also has a nice, clean design. And HelloTalk feels familiar, like using any other social media app.
But some fall down here. You mentioned English Grammar Learn and Test having readability issues.
Yeah.
White text on light brown. Ouch.
Yeah, that's a definite usability flaw. And sometimes even good apps have minor annoyances, like maybe redundant menu options that clutter things up. I think Nudge.me and English Grammar Book had a bit of that.
Okay, what about media? Videos, audio?
Lots of apps use multimedia. You need to consider if things like video, which you get heavily in FluentU or ABA English, are important for you. Or maybe primarily audio, like BBC Learning English, fits better. It often loops back to your learning style.
And one really practical feature, offline access. Being able to download lessons.
Oh, hugely practical. Great for commuting, traveling, anywhere with spotty internet. But yeah, as you hinted, it's often a premium feature. You might need to subscribe to get that in apps like Duolingo, Babbel, or Memrise.
Worth checking before you commit.
Yeah.
Okay, last couple of points. Community and cost. How important is the social side?
Very important for many learners. Interacting with peers, and especially native speakers, provides motivation, accountability, and that crucial real-world practice. It's where the learning comes alive.
And HelloTalk seems tailor-made for that, right? Like a dedicated language exchange network.
Exactly. It even has tools built in to help with corrections and translations during your chats. ABA English also builds community with its chat features and live classes involving teachers and other students. And don't forget basic customer support check if it's easy to get help if you run into problems.
Good point. And finally, the elephant in the room, cost. Most apps look free.
They often use a freemium model. Free to download and try, maybe access some basic content, but you usually need to subscribe for the full experience.
Which is why those free trials are so important.
Absolutely essential. Use them. Test drive the app. See if you like the interface, if the teaching method clicks with you, if it aligns with your learning style before you pay.
Makes perfect sense. Test drive for your brain.
Exactly. So wrapping this up, it's really clear there's no single magic app. It's such a personal journey, finding what works for you.
So the takeaway for you, listening, is to be a savvy consumer. Really think about your learning style, what you want to achieve, what features actually motivate you, and don't be afraid to maybe combine a couple of apps. Use one for vocab, another for speaking practice.
That can be a very effective strategy, building your own personalized toolkit. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. We talked about how mobile tech is just normal now. It's completely integrated into our daily lives. But maybe it's not quite fully normalized yet for learning, not deep down. So the question is, what hidden motivations, what existing daily routines could you tap into to really make using these language apps a natural, consistent part of your life and make that progress stick?